Rams. Today we are representing solutions on a number line. So you need to open up your journals to page 65. Our standard today is 6.9b. I can represent solutions to simple equations and inequalities on a number line. So if you're not in class today, here are your notes. Your key vocabulary that we are going to go over today is inequality, less than, or equal to, greater than, or equal to. Okay, here's a little funny little comic strip that we have. Just, you can read through it. They're just showing you that inequalities have different meanings these days and how they can be typed in when you're texting someone. So just a cute little comic strip you can read through. Okay, how do you read this? Hey, what else does this mean? Okay, so you read this as 3 is less than 5. So that means that 3 is less than 5. So what else does this mean? What if I say x is less than 5? What does that mean? Well, that means that x can be any amount of numbers. So x could be 4. X could be equal to 4. X could be equal to 3. X could be a number of solutions. It could be 4 and 95 hundredths. X could be negative 3. But x cannot be equal to 5 because x is anything less than 5. That is what that means. Okay, moving on today. Now, in your notes, we're going to go over some symbols. We have seen less than before, so please write that in your bubble. There is less than. Now, if I go and I put an underline underneath the less than, this means less than or equal to. This mean it is going to include the number in our solution. So if I were to have x is greater than or equal to 5, this right here means that x could be 5. 5 can be in the solution. Now remember though, on less than, that wouldn't include 5, but in less than or equal to, it could include 5. Alright, now we're going to go to greater than. So remember, this is your greater than symbol. And then if I go and I put a line underneath it, I have my greater than or equal to. So this goes with the rules of this would include the solution if I put the underline underneath it. So again, if I wrote x is greater than or equal to 5, that means it could include the solution number 5. Remember, in greater than, if I wrote x is greater than 5, it would not include the solution number 5. Only if I write the underline underneath the greater than or equal to, it would include 5. Okay, so write that in your little bubble. Then, right here, if you see an equal sign with a slash through it, that means not equal. They are not equal. That means the solutions do not equal each other. And then right here, of course, when you see the equal sign, that means they equal each other or they are equivalent. So you can go ahead and put that in your cloud. They are equal. Okay, moving on. Alright, now inequalities. When we are working with inequalities, you are really going to see these 4 symbols right here. And you're equal to. Alright, today we're going to represent these symbols and graph them on a number line, and then tomorrow we are going to solve for them. And we'll see equal as well, but we're really going to work with these today. So make sure you have all those bubbles filled in. Okay, inequalities. Now we're not used to seeing this, but when we graph them on a number line, the number on the open circle right here, we have an open circle. The number is not a solution. So we're going to use those with less than or greater than signs. That's it. No underline underneath them. Just the number is not a solution. So that means if I were to have x is less than 5, when I go and I graph that and represent it on a number line, I'm going to represent it with an open circle. Oops. What just happened here? Okay, closed circle. Oh, that just totally took me out of my... Okay. Sorry about that. Alright, when I have a closed circle, that means that the number is a solution. So it is a part of my solution. So that means if I'm working with 5 again, I have x is greater than or less than 5, that means that it is a part of my solution. Okay, and I have some examples that we're going to go by over here. Okay, so right here, this is how we would graph them from a situation. Students have 4 minutes or less to travel from one class to another during passing periods. Okay, so this means that when I graph it, we're going to have x minutes, because it may take them 4 minutes or less, so that's going to include the 4, so 4 minutes or less, so that means x is less than or equal to 4. So now, to travel from one class period to another during passing periods. So how I'd represent that is I would go and I would draw my circle on the floor, and it would be a closed circle on the 4, and then I would shade it to the left, because it's going to be less than or equal to, right, there you go. That means less than or equal to. Alright, so there we go with that one, because that means it could take them 3 minutes, it could take them 2 minutes, it could take them 1 minute if they're going directly across the hall. Okay, so there we go. We have represented that inequality and graphed it on a number line. Okay, next scenario. Alright, road trip. You are on a road trip and are traveling the speed limit, which is 60 miles per hour. How fast are you going? Okay, so you're traveling the speed limit, which is 60 miles per hour. So you could write this as x equals 60, and you can just put a closed circle on the 60 miles per hour, because that is, the speed limit is 60 miles per hour. But if you are going within the legal limit, you could say that you are traveling within the legal limit and not over 60 miles per hour. So you would be going, x is less than or equal to 60 miles per hour if it was stated that way, in a different, if the question was in a different form. So x would be less than or 60 miles per hour if you're within the legal limit, and so you would shade it this way, because you could be going 55, you could be going 50, you're just going 60 miles per hour or less than, because you're within the legal speed limit. There you go. Alright, next one, roller coaster. Alright, to ride a roller coaster at Six Flags, you must be more than 48 inches tall. Okay, so you must be more than 48 inches tall. So here we go. That means x is your height. So let x represent your height. So it needs to be more than 48 inches tall. So can it include 48 inches? No. You can be 48 and a half, be 48 and a quarter inches tall, but you have to be more than 48 inches. So that means you need to have an open circle, because it is not going to include 48 in your solution. And you are going to graph it to the right of 48, because the numbers increase to the right of the number line, and show that it's going that direction, because it can represent any solution that is greater than 49. So that means that x is greater than 48, but 48 would not be represented because you have to be more than 48 inches tall to ride a ride at Six Flags. Okay. Report card time. Okay, so your parents set a goal for you, and say they set the goal that your grades on your report card must be at least an 80. Now, does that mean you can make an 80? Yes, it does. It means you can make an 80 or more. So that means 80 would be included in your solution. So you can put a closed circle on 80. So they want your grades to be at least an 80. That means 80 or more, and you would shade it this way because it's going greater. So that means X would be greater than or equal to 80. Okay, good job, Rams. And let me go back up here and show you something real quick in our notes. So if you're ever confused with your greater than or less than symbols, what you can do, a good rule of thumb that we like to do with students here in the math department, is we like to go and put this like a big L and put less. So that way it looks like L for less, so you know that it's pointing that way. And then on the G for greater than, put where it looks like a C, and then where that looks like the tail on the G, so then there is your greater symbol right there. Alright, good job, Rams. And we're going to be practicing with these in depth in class. So our next, your next activity is we are going to write these, which one is less than or equal to, and then we're going to write them from situations. So I'm going to go ahead and go over these with you in case you are not in class. That way you can do this in your annotation. So your less than is going to be just your less than or equal to. It's your less than symbol with the underline. Your at most, that means if you make at most 79, you could pass. Okay, so you need to think about that. So then you have greater than or equal to, at least, which we just talked about, that or equal to, minimum. If you need to make a minimum amount of money, if you need to make $50 to replace the window that your brother and you were playing baseball and it hit, you make a minimum of $50. Can you go over making $50? Yes, you can. So that would be greater than or equal to. No less than. If you can't make no less than $50, it means you need to make at least $50. Can you make more? Yes. Okay. And then you have more than. There you go. Which, if you need more than 48 inches, you need to, it's not going to include the 48 inches like at Six Flags. It needs to be more than. So right here, at most would be less than or equal to. Maximum, if you need to make the maximum amount of money, that means you need to make $50, up to $50. So that would be less than or equal to. No more than means you can't go over that amount, but you can make up to that amount. So that's less than or equal to. And then fewer than is also less than. Okay, there's your inequalities, and then we'll write those from a situation. Have a good day, Ram.